Thank you for the survey. Here are all the videos and some of the images taken during the survey. I aim to put it the right way up, but apologies if occasionally one or two films or videos are upside down or 90 degrees. The primary purpose is as a record of the conversation. The conclusions and recommended actions develop as we go along. I will list the items in the email and also on the YouTube video. So we're just, so what was your name?
Nicholas.
Nicholas was saying that when they went away on holiday, they came back and they found mould all the way up here. And presumably also dampness, water. Was it because you can see it streaming?
You can see on the right as well.
There's streaks. And I understand, so there's, yeah, you can see it there. Well, I can see it, yeah. So, do you see these dots at the base of the wall?
Yes.
That tells me that this property has been damp-proofed against rising damp. But it's not a real thing. But what it does is it causes increased risk of condensation and mould. And you see the dots all the way up there. These chemicals are injected into the wall. It's a misunderstanding, but anyway, it's so most walls have what calls a damp-proof course. You can see at the base of that wall there.
Okay.
And then sometimes they say, "Oh, you haven't got a damp-proof course, so we have to inject the walls," and they do this instead. And then it doesn't do much damage. A bit of damage, but not too much damage. But the real damage comes from the inside, where they replace the plaster and they put in an impermeable plaster, and it stops the plaster from breathing in and out vapor, and so it increases the risk of condensation and mold. It also causes extra heat loss.
Okay.
So you get loss of heat, which increases the risk of mold and condensation. It's not a major thing. They've also got what we call in England a French drain, but it's not French.
Okay.
It's invented by somebody called Mr. French.
Interesting. Okay. So an Englishman called.
An Englishman. So you got here what are called hygroscopic salts. They're not a problem, but they're a feature, and they're up the chimney breast there, and then maybe a bit here.
Yeah, that would be the second chimney.
Then you've got more damp proofing treatment. It's been done twice, so once there and once there, or maybe that's at the same time. It's difficult to know. But they've damaged the plinth. So most properties have what are called plinths.
Okay.
The base of the wall, like your neighbours would have had. It's ideally you have a plinth a bit like this. It goes up there, and it's not a major issue, but it can cause a bit of extra heat loss.
Okay.
An extractor fan isn't going out, so there's no hole there. You would expect to see a hole roughly about there, but there's nothing. So I know that the kitchen extractor fan isn't ducted out, which is a building regulations requirement nowadays. So if I turn this on, I can feel the air just coming back through again. So it's recycling, it's not going anywhere. So it's a very easy thing to solve. Just needs a core drill, diamond tipped core drill through there. Take about 20 minutes, it's actually, this is an old chimney breast here. Interesting. So it can go up the chimney breast. It's better to go all the way out. But anyway, it's still not ventilating out because I can feel the air coming through. So this is showing 1920 litres a second, which is great, but it only lasts for 10 minutes. So I'm going to extend it to 20 minutes. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do is keep the door closed at all times, because you want the vapour to go that way and not that way. Vapour moves through diffusion like smoke.
Okay.
If somebody was smoking in the bathroom, if you have the door open, even with the fan on, you'd soon smell it around the property.
Yeah.
So I also say to owners two things. One is to put a spring hinge on the door, because then it just encourages the door to stay closed. And the second one is consider putting in a continuous flow bathroom extractor fan. It's just slowly blowing the vapour out.
Yeah.
And obviously the kitchen needs to go out as well. One is that in London it's quite humid. I know Paris is relatively humid, but it is probably more humid in London.
Yeah.
So whenever you're blowing air out, you're replacing the internal air with internal vapour, with the outside air with external vapour.
Yeah.
And if it's wet, and you know it's often warmer when it's wet. You get a warm front is often where you're getting the worst of the rain, and so you have to have the vent running much longer to get the same benefit. And the other thing is, if you leave the property empty for any length of time, then and without any heating on, then all the vapours from the outside is going to come in and it's going to condense and cause mould. And that's virtually every property, unless you're running a dehumidifier. And I'm going to recommend you have a 20 litre per day humidifier.
We have one, yeah.
Do you run it all
we
the
don't
time?
run it like all the time, no.
And if
because
you
it costs, yeah.
well, no, I tell you why. You can reduce your cost, your energy cost, and your carbon footprint by running a dehumidifier.
Okay.
For 5 different reasons. One is for all the energy that goes into a dehumidifier comes out as heat.
Yeah.
But you get a 50% bonus, because as you're going from the vapor phase to the liquid phase, you're releasing heat through enthalpy.
Okay.
So it's like the opposite of going outside with a wet t-shirt, or or sweat causes heat loss, because it's the evaporation that causes the heat. So
when here it's the reverse.
It's the reverse of that. It creates heat gain. So you get heat gain. The other thing is, a cold, humid property feels colder than a cold, dry property. So you can turn the thermostat down.
Yeah.
The other one is you're bound to get some humidity, some condensation at the base of the wall, unless you're drying the air. And a damp brick is a poor insulator, so you get more heat loss. And then the final one is that you can't keep a property dry without either a lot of heat or a dehumidifier when you're away.
Yeah.
And the much cheaper solution is to use a dehumidifier. I have a property, and I whenever I leave it, I leave 3 dehumidifiers running.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because it's more my partner, like, she feels very stressed to leave these things running on, and so that's why it's very intermittent.
Well, if you're happy to leave a fridge running, it's the same technology as a fridge.
That's a good example to give.
It's just a condenser.
Okay.
If you're happy to leave a fridge running, then you should feel happy to leave a dehumidifier running.
That's a good way to convince her.
So this is the thermal imaging camera. I'm just putting it with a video so you can see both at the same time. But you can see where the areas of heat loss are. So behind the TV, so this is a corner. It's very standard. It's going down to 12.7, 12.5 degrees centigrade in the corner. It's because you've got, there's an external terrace area, isn't it? So you got a lot of heat loss from the external corner, because you've got external surface area, and poor airflow in from the radiators. Even though the radiator's there, you can see the radiator's on.
Yeah.
You can see the temperature difference, 54 degrees centigrade, and yet this is really cold, because the air is flowing up through there, and you'll see that it's warmer up at the top, because it's the flow of the air. The actual flow of the air is through the curtain. You get, hold on, you get area of heat loss. I'll put it back on.
Yeah, I tried to put a little, you will see, a very DIY.
Yeah, no, but you get heat loss here because you got a single brick, and it's going down to 12.2 in the centre, because you got a single brick. I mean, it's an explanation. It's not, but so normal brick wall is 2 bricks, 2 skins, but you have a single skin in the middle of a chimney breast, with the flue going up the middle. Historically, obviously, the chimneys were used. So in winter it'd constantly be used, so it wouldn't be a problem. But when it's not in use, you have this issue. Obviously, it's cold. Oh, it's down to 10 degrees centigrade.
It's very cold in here. Yeah. When I work from home here, you can feel the air actually.
You can feel it's cold. And it's similarly. Oh, it's down to 9.7 there. I'm going to turn it the other way around, so that I can see in the cupboard. So this is now. Oh, I can't actually see what I'm doing, but it is actually. It's a bit. But I imagine it's going down to. It's going down to 8.7 1 point. And the reason why is because you've got. The reason why is because you've got the cupboard and it's stopping the airflow, plus it's cold outside, plus it's been damp proofed. You see this ridge here? That's the damp proofing goes up to there.
Okay.
Don't. If anyone ever suggests that you get damp proofing, absolutely not. It's not the cause of dampness.
Okay.
Damp proofing is against rising damp, which comes from groundwater, which is the water under the water table.
Okay.
In London, the water table is pumped out.
What does it
we
mean?
drink it. The water table is like, so when the rain rains on the ground, the soil, it will draw the water down.
Yeah.
It will go flow through the soil until it reaches a point of saturation. So the soil can't hold any more water, and it's called the water table. It's like there's a lake underground, but in London it's about 70 metres below ground level.
Interesting.
Because they pump it out. They pumped it out for industrial uses, but also to stop the tubes and the trains, the underground car parks from flooding.
Yeah.
So you don't get groundwater in London, so you shouldn't have rising damp. You won't have rising damp.
So there is no need to have them.
So you don't. But what will happen is you get slight heat loss caused by this impermeable. So they replace the normal plaster with impermeable. So the normal plaster has lots of microscopic pores in it, and to hide the water. The dampness, they block it up, but the problem is it just displaces the water. It doesn't stop it. So, and then you've got. So this is in the corner near the radiator. So it's probably going to be a bit warmer.
We also in the past had some mold
in the corner there. But when a radiator's not in use, it actually gets cold because the pipe is going into the subfloor and that little bit of heat loss. So you find in autumn, when it's hot during the day but cold at night, people don't put the radiator on, and you end up getting heat loss and a risk of mould. So we're going to look at the data loggers now. Oh yeah, so this there's obviously condensation on there as well, and this is it's a tile floor, but it will act like a solid floor. And there. Behind fridges is often an issue because every time you open the fridge, any vapour from inside the kitchen, especially because the extractor fan isn't working, will go inside. It condenses. There's a little drain at the back of the fridge. It goes to the motor at the back, and then that heat on the motor just forces it to evaporate, and it will come around the back. And if you're not getting enough airflow, or it's onto a cold corner, which you've got, you're liable to get condensation on there. Okay. I put all of that on video.
And it's very interesting.
I'm just going to calibrate these numbers. They're in the same place, so they should show the same amount. Point de rosé. Rosé?
That was it, yeah.
That's what we call dew point. And that's where, okay, so one of the things that, I'm doing a thing on AI. It won't be appropriate for you because your English is perfect, but I did a survey for one of the Afghanistan military people. Okay. He was a tenant and I was doing it for an MP actually. And so we did everything in Farsi. I did an automated translation in Google into Farsi, and you could talk really about to explain everything. But
this
anyway,
thing is very powerful. But sorry.
I'll do this bit myself, but all I do is I change the étalonnage. And I'm just going to put in a -5, 5 actually. There you go. So that's it. You'll find that there's often a bit of variation, but there's no problem. Actually, and then I've got to increase the temperature by what is it, 5.1 or something?
0.5.
0.5. That's right. Okay, so you've got comma there, but it's plus. Okay. Point de rosée is dew point, and they should all be similar. So point de rosée, dew point, is a measure of the amount of vapor in air.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the temperature where condensation takes place at.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell if you're generating vapor in one part of a property compared to another part of the property by comparing the dew point.
Okay.
So we get what's called the dew point differential. So dew point, point de rosée, when you have a property that's perfectly ventilated, you're going to replace the internal air with the internal dew point, with the external air with the external dew point.
Okay.
Because the dew point is also the temperature where condensation takes place at, the external dew point can never be greater than the outside temperature, because otherwise it would rain, it would condense, and rain is condensation. So a perfectly ventilated property will have the same internal dew point as the outside. You don't need to be perfectly ventilated, but you need to be optimally ventilated. That means to have sufficient ventilation or dehumidification to bring the internal dew point down to the outside temperature. Because in most properties, but particularly old properties, but in most properties, there's somewhere where you're going to have a temperature that's close to the outside, whether it's the cold water inlet, whether it's the ducting out, whether it's a poorly insulated area or an area that isn't getting the heat from the radiators. So even if you have perfect insulation, if you're not getting the heat from the radiators, that will be an area. And behind that cupboard is you're going to get really poor airflow. And so the primary solution is to reduce the internal vapor with ventilation dehumidification. Secondary solutions include increasing the heat, increasing the airflow, and increasing the insulation. And it's a combination of all those factors. But one of the things I would recommend definitely in this property is putting some insulation behind the cupboard in that room, and it'll stop the mold growing in behind there. Because you're always going to get, so where you've got mold growth already, mold growth with relative humidity goes above 85%. Is mold
moisissure.
Moisissure.
Yeah.
Okay. Muffa in Italian. And if you get mold grows with relative humidity goes above 85% for long periods of time. So it's a combination of the excess vapor and that long periods of time, which is because it's not getting the airflow from the radiator. So it will tend to grow in behind cupboards and into the corners and so on. So you can put some localized insulation. I'll put on video some examples of insulation. Before we do anything else, do you want to press the green numbers, and that then will bring down the data log. If you press the calculator sign top right, export sign top right, export CSV, and then use one of your Outlook, and then send it to myself, Simon at dampsurveys.com. Simon at dampsurveys. Oh no, DAM.
Oh, sorry.
Damp surveys.
Like this?
Yeah, that's the one. And just you have to just press it somewhere, and it will. Something. Yeah. Now you can go.
Okay.
Now you can send it.
So that's the bedroom. So
So
I will do it for.
If you send all of them to me now,
Yeah.
and well, I'm going to give you a whole series of recommendations,
Mhm.
and you can send me another set in a week's time,
Okay.
and I will. What I do is I group them all together,
Yeah.
and so you can see where you rate compared to other properties. All the properties are damp properties.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you a link to an AI website, and you can do it yourself. And it's graphical. For now, it's graphical, and you can see. But I'm
It's
linking
really
it
good.
to AI to then be able to. So you'll be in the future. You'll be able to give it lots of information about like when you've been at home or what time of day you have a shower, and it will give you much more informed recommendations.
It's really.
Yeah, you've got what here? It looks old. It doesn't look current. I'm going to guess it's cellar rot with some wood weevil, probably, but I'm not sure. It doesn't look like it's old. Sorry, it doesn't look. It looks old. It doesn't look like it's current. And in which case, you don't really need to worry about it. It's going to damage the timber. But if it's ongoing, then it could be of structural significance, because this is a timber. This is what's called a void underneath with suspended timber flooring. So it's got a joist, and if the rock gets into the timber below, that can cause it can collapse. Yeah, so I'll have a look in the cellar in a sec. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it from 10 minutes to 45 minutes. And I'm going to change the humidity setting from 80%, which is way too high anyway, and I'm going to make it 55%, like that. And that will be on for much longer, but you shouldn't hear it. Keep the door closed, and that should be. So, what I recommend to owners of properties that have damp issues, but in particular ground floor or lower ground floor properties, it's better to have a continuous flow bathroom extractor fan that constantly blow air out. We spoke about it earlier. They just bloat out gently, about 5 litres a second. But when the lights are switched on or they sense humidity, it increases the ventilation speed to about 15 litres a second. So this is going to be definitely a big improvement on what it was before. So it's now 45 minutes overrun from when you turn the lights off. And it's set to 55% relative humidity. So you will find that it's on quite a lot. I think it's the best thing for now. Mm-hmm. Even though no one wants to have mould in their bathrooms, it's better to have mould in the bathroom than in the rest of the flat, because it's relatively easy to clean. Use HG anti-mould spray. It's got all the anti-mould sprays use bleach. It's really good. But there are plenty of others. The subfloor. So this style of property, which was common until probably the 1920s or after the war. It dates back to Roman times, and it was to keep the grain dry, and the whole concept is to have air flowing underneath the floorboards. The floor needs airflow in case there is a leak that goes unnoticed. If there's no leak, and there's no rainwater going into the subfloor, you actually don't need ventilation. So I will have a look underneath, and we'll just measure the subfloor relative humidity. But the fact that you've got an extension at the back is not necessarily going to is going to cause a problem.
Okay.
But ideally you have through flow. But if there's no water in the subfloor and the vapour levels are normal, then you can actually close the air bricks off, because you're going to get some heat loss. So we were talking about the mould and whether that's caused by the subfloor relative humidity, and absolutely not. You get mould downstairs, you get mould up here because you've got too much humidity upstairs. And when we look at the dew points,
Yeah.
you remember the dew point, when we put the meter in downstairs, the dew point will be much lower because it's colder.
And the smell that.
The smell, so, what, in the downstairs?
Well, here, I don't know if you.
Oh, that's mould. Water doesn't smell, it's mould that smells. So, and we can see mould. So, you know, unfortunately, you're going to have to start by. So, when you've got mould, mould spores are omnipresent everywhere in the world, but when it's already growing, you're going to have a higher concentration of mould. So, initially, there's going to have to be a lot of attacking the mould, including behind the cupboard. So, spray in behind the cupboard. I'm going to recommend, in addition to the kitchen extractor fan and dehumidifier, I recommend insulation, and I think wood fibre is the simplest. So this is relatively inexpensive. It's very inexpensive, should I say? And it's breathable as well, so it allows absorption. And I would just get loads of this, and it comes in large sections, and just push it in behind the cupboard, particularly at the base of the wall, and that will stop the mould from growing, because that's always going to cause mould, because you're never going to be able to get rid of it easily from behind there. So that's a very simple solution for that. You can, most of the solutions are going to come from reducing the vapour levels, but obviously mould, getting rid of the mould at the back. You see, oh, you got mould up there. So you get heat loss around the windows because a normal wall is 2 bricks thick, but as you get closer to the edge, so there's very little insulation, so you get lots of heat loss around the edges, and that's why you're getting it there, because relative humidity is not just about the amount of vapour in air, but it's also temperature. It's the combination of the two, so it's the lack of heat. You can hear a lot of bad things about anything on the internet, but it's not the mould that causes health issues, it's the dust mites you get in the same environment. So if you've got humidity, you're liable to get mould, you're also liable to get dust mites, and they cause allergies. I mean, there are some very specific mould allergies, such as, it'll come to me, but anyway, so farmers can get it, but because of the mould that you get in the fields, and they get farmer's lung, but you have to have huge amounts of mould to do that, and actually just cutting the grass outside will give you more mould. You'll ingest more mould from that than you will do when it's just growing on the house. So it's like a canary in the mine. It tells you that there's an issue. It isn't the cause of allergies, it's the dust mites. So you need to do, if you're worried about it, obviously bring down the vapour levels, do all the right things to reduce the risk of mould, but also vacuum around the edge of carpets around the external wall, and turn the bedclothes a lot, turn the pillows and the duvet, and obviously just wash them once a week, as I'm sure you would do anyway, but that will reduce the risk. Plants, we all love plants, but you've got to remember that all the water that you give to plants is going to come back out as vapour, so that's adding to the balance. Every person adds roughly 2 litres of water as vapour every day, and that's 3/4 of a litre from respiration. So working from home increases the vapour impact on a property. Showering is about 1/2 litre per person per day, but that's not cumulative. So if one after the other, it won't double up. Drying clothes is about 1/2 litre per person per day, and cooking is about 1/4 litre, but it does vary a lot depending on styles. So if you reduce sauces, which is a very French thing to do, that can release a lot of vapour. And obviously without the extractor fan working, it's just going to come back into the house. So to do with vapour management, and the data loggers will really help with that. especially if I get the AI part working better.
Yeah.
Yako is quite a good brand. Obviously, whenever you're drying clothes, have it next to the clothes.
Yeah.
Or if the humidity, the dew point is above the outside temperature.
Okay.
Just give that. And when you go away, just have it draining. Have it draining into the sink in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, set it to 70 degrees centigrade.
Okay.
When you're going away,
Yeah.
and set it to like 60 degrees. To 70% relative humidity when you're going away, and 60% when you're living in the property.
60. Okay. Fine. Above your head, not just above your head, but there is some sign of damps as well.
Sign of where?
More towards the middle. But
Oh, this is damp proofing treatment here as well. Bit ridiculous. Sorry, what were you? I see bottles of alcohol.
yeah, no, but like more towards the top, like above your head, like here, for example. Or maybe I'm completely wrong. But
What's that?
like these things, or maybe I'm.
Oh, I see. That's somebody spilt water.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's somebody with a glass of water that's gone down the corridor.
Oh.
I would guess.
Okay.
I mean that's what it looks like. It's not in there as well. Do you see? That's.
Yeah.
I mean that's nothing to worry about.
Okay, fine.
Sometimes you get woodworm. That's. If you get woodworm, you just have to spray it with permethrin. So you can get condensation on these pipes,
Yeah.
but actually, you know what? I mean, it's not bad in here. And you get it. So that's the old coal cellar, which is going to. You get a bit of condensation there because it gets very cold. But it's not too bad in here.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's not the cause of your mould. It seems a bit of a strange suggestion that
Yeah.
the cellar
I
could
was
cause
expecting-
mould upstairs.
I mean, I did open this part, the whole of this morning, but I'm not sure why.
You open what? Sorry.
Sorry?
The timber looks okay. So, yeah, I'm just going to flag it as something to be aware of. That there's rot there, but I
Yeah.
think that's very old. It strikes me as being. Normally, you can see what's called cuboidal cracking, and I'm not saying that. It's just it looks like it's rotted and it's been painted over since then. So the vapor levels are. But it's only just been here for a short while. But the relative humidity, 63%, vapor is 9.7 degrees centigrade, which I think was higher, wasn't it, upstairs? Not
It was
much,
higher.
similar. There is a bit of dampness in the corner there. I'll have a look outside. So this is a damp meter. There's quite high numbers here. Wow. That's 35 seems to be the normal level. That's okay. I'll go in next to it. If you were updating the property, you would insulate it.
Yeah.
You can insulate on the inside or the outside. You can put in what's called EWI, external wall insulation. There are a lot of pros and cons to doing it. You can use thermal lining paper, which just gives an extra couple of degrees. So we're talking about this wall being very cold, which is why you're getting the condensation on there. I would say, so normally if you've got brown stain, it's because you're getting water from the outside, but it can also be from a rusting nail, and I think that's what's causing that there. We go swimming every day, and it's damp in even something else. So I'm going to just, yeah, it's damp here, but actually it looks worse than it is. I'm going to have a look on the outside, see if there are any issues there. So outside, the ground levels are higher than the inside. There's an air brick there. So that air brick is going to cause heat loss, which is going to account for the coldness there and the condensation there. But you have a risk of penetrating damp. Ideally, you have a fillet of cement that goes all the way around on the edge to displace the rainwater away from this patio, because inevitably some water will find its way through. There's that looks like water is maybe coming down. There's a bit of a crack down here. That's not too bad. I wouldn't worry too much about that. There's a crack in the render around the wall. This crack there. There obviously is a bit of settlement in the property. Doesn't look bad from a damp point of view, but from a structural point of view, I would be slightly worried, but I'm not a structural engineer. Similar issue there. So I think the main thing is that you're going to get heat loss. I'm reluctant to say get rid of the downstairs air brick, but if it were mine, I would probably put a cover over that with a rubber seal to insulate it, but just monitor the subfloor humidity in the cellar. Obviously, as a landlord, it's difficult to do that, but you've got a risk of... The other alternative is put insulation on the inside wall there, but you're always going to have vulnerability because you've got that air brick. So essentially, you've only got a single skin of bricks, and you've got air going in underneath, and it's causing heat loss. So you've got half the insulation.
I'm starting to get the the reasons. It's always the one layer versus two layer and three.
So it's obviously quite high here as well. So on the outside, we've got, this can cause heat loss. I mean, so you've got the hygroscopic salts here, which don't account for the dampness inside. They're not a source of moisture, but they cause deliquescence, which is a form of condensation, and sometimes you get bands of it. I don't see any problem. I see some water on that, and obviously you don't need these can be unscrewed, but these cause little points of heat loss. But generally it's not too bad out here. You've got this that causes some water to bounce on it, but it doesn't seem to be causing internal dampness. So not a major issue out here. Ideally you allow some airflow. You don't have these up against the wall, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, the landlord is gonna ask for someone to remove these things. But my office would be maybe more...
Okay, so this is
because I guess this is the chimney,
so
the office would be here, I think.
Okay, so where we're seeing the brown staining was around here. So I think that was internal condensation on the screw holding in the shelf that was causing rust, because there's nothing obvious on the outside.